Good afternoon, everyone. I am Emily Bull, DRI's Marketing Director, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Before I introduce our presenter, I want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. All of our attendees are muted as you enter the session. Today's presentation will be about 40 minutes, and time permitting, we will open the floor for a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you would like to ask a question, you can do so by typing and submitting your question in the question tab of your GoToWebinar toolbar. We encourage you to ask a question at any time throughout the webinar, and if we don't have time to respond to your question at the end of the session, we will follow up with you directly via email following the live presentation. We're also recording this webinar, and that recording will be emailed to all of our registrants following the live presentation. Before we jump into the OCR session today, I did want to invite you all to register for DRI's next webinar. On Thursday, July 18th, we'll be hosting a Zonal Pay webinar. Zonal Pay is a new CSI payment processing solution that is also powered by Decision 365. Zonal Pay allows Sightline users to accelerate payment submissions, reduce payment acceptance costs, enhance security, and ensure accurate record validation. You can learn more about that and see all of DRI's events on decision.com/events. With that, I am pleased to introduce our presenter today. You can see him here. David Willett is DRI's Head of Products and Alliances. David, I know you have a quick little slide prepared with an intro, so why don't you just go ahead and take it away from here and let everyone know who you are.
Okay, hi, I'm David. Been around for a long time and bold down at the bottom. Started with Simon in '87, had a lot of projects. Probably one of the ones that applies today is when I was chief technologist at FrontStep. That's when we added these APIs in, because at that time, most people did everything in the system with the screens and the forms. And you'll see today that there's a whole bunch of automation going on. So our agenda today is Decision 365 as a platform. The things I'm going to show you, I'll spend probably 5 to 10 minutes on it, are common to all the channels that we have coming in. So we are an omni-channel application. By the way, I'm going to turn off the camera here real quick because I am multi-screen. So we are a multi.
Hey, David, you just turned off. You turned off screen sharing and you still have your camera on.
Okay, guys, sorry. Live demo. So let me turn off my camera.
It's the camera icon. There you go.
I got it. Okay, good. So live performance, not pre-recorded. Then we're going to show how we handle demand. Let me go back to the channels. So we're an omni-channel application. We bring in data from a variety of different areas that would end up in Sightline. And those areas and applications are anything from payment to orders to vendor invoices. We're going to then spend some time going into one of the applications. We'll touch on EDI, we do eCommerce, we do OCR, and bring in orders that came in from PDFs or other things like that, and then also vendor invoices. So here's where we started about 7 or 8 years ago. We'd been doing EDI, DRI's been doing EDI for over 10 years. And we worked a lot with a company, and we still do, called SPS Commerce. And we brought data in to this area where people could look at it before it got into Sightline. And the key was, you know, if I'm going to have to put things in Sightline and then spend my time checking quantities, checking that the price matters, checking the dates, checking everything else, why don't I do that in an environment that I'm already used to working in? And let's see if that can be automated and done for me ahead of time. Shortly after that, we started adding other channels. So we started adding Shopify. We presented this a few years ago at Sun. We can take orders in from Excel spreadsheets, a variety of areas, obviously, and that's why we say we're omni-channel. All these come in to Decision 365 and then are bidirectionally linked with your Sightline system. Well, over time, we started doing more and more things, and we started noticing that a lot of companies would come to us and they would want an integration for their big customer, and we can do that. A lot of these different companies do OCR, some are e-commerce companies and things like that. We recently decided, though, that we could get a tighter integration if we partnered with and or OEM'd it. And we started OEMing a product called NanoNets, which is an OCR engine. I'll go into it more, but it's based upon Google's vision technology. We provide that for you with this OCR. So our structure, again, I've kind of already touched on this, but we share different consoles in Decision 365. So I could have orders coming in from EDI, orders coming in from e-commerce, orders coming in from OCR, all in the same console, and you're going to see that in a bit. The same is true for payments. So let's look a little bit at incoming demand and show you how Decision 365 would look. So I'm right here in something that looks like Outlook, and this just looks like my email, and it's just an email account I have. And why we call it Decision 365 is because, well, it's part of Office 365. I'm clicking and looking at all my orders coming in here. These are my Shopify orders, and I'll talk a little bit about the color a little bit later. But when I'm bringing in a Shopify order, I can go down and say, let me go look at this order. Let me go see what that order looked like in actual Shopify. And yep, there it is in Shopify. Okay, well, great. The point was to get it into Sightline. So let me look and see what it's like in Sightline. And of course, I forgot to log in. But here I'm going right into the system, and there's my order in Sightline. So it came into Decision 365 before anything else happened, and I was able to just look at my Shopify orders. I use different colors here, one indicating this is pink because it's going to Florida. These are a maroon color because the prices don't exactly match. So let's look at EDI now. In the same console, I have a whole bunch of EDI orders, and I'll see that I have some exceptions. So we use the term exception when something isn't validated. I also see some new orders coming in from Amazon. These in yellow here are new orders that are just coming in. But if I look at this, I'll see that this order has been sourced by Decision 365. If I look over here, I can notice that we've called the APS CTP date. We can see how late we're going to be or not. This particular order line item, the same kind of thing that happened in Shopify. I can click on this line item, or because this was sourced, we even flipped the purchase order around. So in this case, I had a part come in. We knew who the supplier was. We set up a rule to not only bring the order in, but to turn around and do a purchase order. If I look at this top item up here, this is a part, BK 27,000. I'm going to go look at the customer line item for it, and we'll see that the order came in, and not only did it come in, but we created the job bill of material, and because it's a configured part, we built the whole bill of material. The concept here is that Decision 365 is active. We have information both on incoming, the buyer's information, and we have information in Sightline, and we can also do things in Sightline. All these orders in green are good. They're in Sightline, so you're probably getting tired of me clicking around, so I'll stop clicking there. But here's an exception. What's the problem with that? Well, it doesn't have the cross-reference. These orders, this from Home Depot, we had come in and we chose not to have it become an order yet. We have an exception on this one, its address is off. So we don't really want you spending time, wasting your time looking at good data. You don't want to go through here and say, where are the problems? This one's good. Why would you spend your time looking at good data? So the way our customers should work is they have an exceptions view. And they can look at an order like a Walmart order, and I'm just going to drag this Walmart order into Excel, and I have Excel up, and I can see, okay, my total order liability here, and I'm looking for the sum key, so sorry about that, but I'll just sum those. The point being, it's already parsed. It's already parsed. We can drag right in. So if we have a view that's important to us in Decision 365, we can drag it right into Excel. So as I go through these things, we also give you a number of tools, and all these tools do not have to be on the menu. When we implement, we can choose which ones are on or which ones are off. But we could say, okay, go ahead and add the customer contract, or add the part number, or add the customer, or add the ship to only. When I say add the customer, that adds the bill to. When I say add the ship to only, that doesn't add the bill to. And then in some cases, when we have data that came in already, you know, in the old days, we used to tell people, oh, go to Sightline, go to the form, enter that cross-reference, and process it again. Well, the data's already coming in. That's just a waste of time. So why don't we just go and say fix it, and that takes any of the incoming data, and it will process it. And then I can look at the next problem and I can deal with that. So I have the ability to see all my exceptions in one place, and then as a human deal with the business issue. And I'll show you some more examples of that. Also, just to bring this up, categories, you know, we can add a lot of them. There's more here, but you'll see the things in yellow. We can update lines, we can source lines, we can ship lines, send acknowledgements. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can do that tell Decision 365 to communicate with your trading partner and or send information back to EDI. Okay, back to the, so we're going to look a little bit more at, well, here, that just processed, so let's just go look at that. Let me go back to this EDI view. There's our Walmart order. It automatically added the part. It puts it in bold because the unit of measure is off. We're gonna end up shipping 3.5 pair of these things. And you know, bad news early is good news. In this case, I'm shipping 3.5 pair. I can go in as a customer service person or somebody, and I can say, you know what? I'm going to go into Sightline and I'm going to, let's just do 12 each, my internal unit of measure, and let's just say we're ordered, and let's save that. And for those of you doing the math, you know that's going to turn out to 6 pair later on and ordered. And when we come back to this, let's look, because you'll see that this will now be an ordered status, and we're going to see 6 pair here. And we'll come back to this in a minute. We are in a near real-time situation, so we run asynchronously between different systems because we never know when a system's down, but most things are going to happen in 2 to 3 minutes of interacting with it. So what is our technology based on? What technology do we use, and why do we do that? We're message based, and a message means it's like an order, like a header and line items. An EDI document is sent. So for that, we use a high volume message service, and many of you have heard of it. It's called Microsoft Exchange. We are actually just running in the cloud using Office 365. We are processing everything at the Exchange API level. Nothing is added to the Outlook. Nothing is on the desktop. We add rules for sanitizing and getting data done before it gets into the ERP system. Some of you will see the benefit of that in some other slides, but we want those orders to go into Sightline correctly, and then your next step is whatever you do after you get an order. You're either making it or buying it, and as you saw, we can even source it. We can compare incoming to ERP, so we can look at the price that Sightline has and look at the price that is coming in and let it and warn you with colors or just flat out keep it out because it's too far off. We have tolerances and things like that. And then, as I mentioned, we're active. So you can run actions, you can stay in sync. We'll go back and we'll see that what went on in Sightline also is going to be reflected. The users are working in the interface they already know. Most Sightline customers use Outlook, and that's where we play. We're very easy to add on because we're just running the Outlook in the cloud, allowing you to automate. And the basic point is don't waste your time looking at good data. Why do you want to go through 100 new orders and look for things that have problems? So this is just what I showed you. We'll give you links into the Sightline application. We'll show you colors when things are off. This order actually went in because we have a tolerance saying, you know, if it's not 20%, we're going to take it. We could say 5%, but you'll see 28.125 is the ERP dollar. That's the price Sightline says it should be. We call the Sightline pricer. 23.45 is what Lowe's is trying to buy it from you for. It's off by 16%. You've chosen to not do anything about it, but you're notified. Here's another unit of measure font. So that's just what I showed you. So that's a demand workbench. We also do the same thing with EDI. There's an EDI document called the 820. What is that? That's the payment. It's called a remittance advice. So a payment will come in from Hayes Hardware and we match it up and we apply it to accounts receivable. Things that are in red is where they're taking credits and we're looking for credit memos. And if there isn't a credit memo, we'll say no match and we'll warn you. We also have ones, I think this one here is from Shopify. We're taking payments and credit cards from Shopify, matching them up and automatically applying them to accounts receivable. And then we'll be showing July 18th, zonal pay. If you take payments and you want your customer to pay by check or by credit card, and I'll say that again, even if they pay by check, we leverage it. So all three of these are three different channels that we use the same input. And then you've seen some of my colors. This is just a standard Outlook thing where I can say orders are in green and forecasts are in blue and unit of measure things are in big blue. It's very important to us to not just pass data into Sightline. So many interfaces out there. You know, somebody will say, oh, do you have an interface to Shopify? Sure, they put a bad order that's in one system and now it's a bad order in Sightline. This is an example. Walmart is notorious for sending the same order over and over again. And their typical answer is when you say what changed, they say one of the line items changed, the quantity changed. And we had customers who were going through actually 100-line orders. I'm showing you a 15-line example. They were going through 100-line orders looking to see what buyer quantity changed or what price changed. They had to look through all 100 orders to find the few changes in Sightline. Well, Decision 365 will go through and say, yep, price change, quantity change, whatever, allowing them to then go in and update the order if they want, or we have the ability to automatically update the order. A lot of times when you're looking at changes like that, you want a person to get involved, but think of the time it took to go through 100 lines to see what changed and also the chance of error. And we do that automatically in, you know, less than a minute. Another customer we had, they have a special deal with Wayfair that you got to ship within, you know, a few hours. And if you take an order from us and you don't ship within those few hours, you're going to get back charged for one. Your scorecard goes way down. But if you actually receive the order from us and you tell us that you can't take the order because you can't fill it, your scorecard's great and we don't charge you. And what they were doing, of course, before Decision 365 is putting them in as an order, having a person go and look every part up. So we can also do things with Excel spreadsheets, the point being multiple channels. Okay, so we wanted to see OCR today, so let's get to that. But those are the concepts behind Decision 365 that will apply here too. So OCR for us, we are using, and I'll talk about it in a second, OEMing an engine called NanoNets. It will take PDFs, pictures, Excel spreadsheets, handwritten stuff on the back of napkins, all of those come in. So we obviously like data to come in that comes from a computer. We use NanoNet's OCR. They're US-based, US data. They're hosted in the United States. Some of these other OCR companies are either their engines are offshore or they're hosted offshore. That can be an issue if you are in defense contracting. They leverage the Google Vision AI. Just using AI alone, and the documents I'm showing today are in fact untrained. So the OCR will go in and it'll say, hey, that must be the company, and it'll find the invoice, and it'll find the PO, and it'll find different things. But you know, it may not, it may get the description screwed up. Or in some cases, there'll be more than one PO on the form, and so it doesn't know which PO you're using. You should not expect 100% accuracy if you don't train it, but it's still a lot better than typing. So this was an untrained one, and it picked up the freight. It somehow knew that the freight for the whole order was here because there's a freight label. It also knew where the invoice was and all that information. If you train the AI, so you get 10 files from the same format, so you would get 10 from Diamond Tech Industries, you would train it, you're going to get the accuracy above 90%. We are now rolling out both the purchase order we're implementing with customers today and the vendor invoice also implementing. We will be looking at other things in the future. Some of the things we also do that help to clean up data, when you do OCR, sometimes you'll get spaces in there, sometimes you'll get, you know, somebody will put in the quantity real close to it, they'll have the each or the piece. We have tools that will turn a number into a number, that will make sure an email's got the ampersand in it. We also do address parsing. So we'll take a whole block of text that is the address, and we know that needs to be address 1, address 2, city, state, zip, and sightline. We'll break it up, and then we'll also run it through USPS's latest API. And so it's all coming in validated as part of that. OCR also gives us scores, gives us reliability. How sure are we that that part is right? Well, we're saying, hey, we could really care less if the description's right because we're not paying the invoice under the description, but it's pretty important that the purchase order number's right. So we want that number to be 95%. If not, it throws an exception, telling a human to deal with it. We can also disallow things. So we can say certain fields without a price on them or without a part number are disallowed. And we can also replace things. So those are all helpers we have. When we do this, when we bring in information, I'm going to show you this in just a few moments, but we are leveraging the Sightline functionality. So in Sightline, there is a voucher builder, and when you press generate, it runs a Sightline method that takes the inbound stuff that you had, and it will generate the voucher. Well, we're doing the exact same thing. We just build it through the APIs, and then we call the same API. So how does our invoice matching, what does it do? This applies to the AP invoice, it applies to the EDI 810, but first thing we do is find the PO. Then we find the line using both, and this is a nice feature. If it has a part number and it can't find it as the vendor item, it'll turn around and look for it as the item number in Sightline. So you're not having to do this double search. No, this customer sends me our part number. This vendor sends us their part number. This vendor sends us our part number. So we do a double search. We look on price tolerance. Did the price tolerance match? You can see right over here, the purchase price of $15.95, that's on the invoice, did not match the cost on the PO, which was $15,990. We probably need to do some formatting there, but didn't match up. So we rolled back the Decision 365 invoice. I didn't hit that on the demand side, but we have this concept of rollback, which means everything's a transaction. It's got to be all right or nothing's right. We also have a concept of non-transactional. So I'm going to go ahead and pay these second lines. And you'll also see here, the line sequence on the invoice may not match the line sequence on the PO. That's perfectly fine. You could have an item on the PO that is plan status, but you still want to pay it. So we support these different scenarios. We can also pay the total PO. Essentially, we're not matching. We're just going to take the total number on the PO. And then we create the AP voucher, and we give you a link to it. So let's look at it. So first thing I'll just do, let's see, I do want to highlight, this is all up to date now, 6 pair. So we're good. So if I look at how this would work again, we do put different document types in different folders, different shared inboxes with different permissions. So it's probably true that your order entry person doesn't get into your AP area. They could, but we'll normally give you a different AP section. So if I go here and I'm just looking at my AP, I can look at all the vouchers that came in. So this one came in today. I'm sorted by create date. This one came in yesterday. I can see some exceptions here. What was that exception? It was a bad price. What's this exception? Another bad price. This exception. Couldn't find the PO. Just like we saw on the order side, okay, I have just an exceptions view. So I can just go through here looking at my quantity. They billed us for 8,000 and we've only received 1,000. If I just like looking at good stuff, I can say, okay, let me just look at my voucher data. And of course, because this is Outlook, everybody knows how to do this. You can drag out your views and things like that as well. So once it's in, I have links again. What kind of links would I have? Well, there's my voucher number 466. What's that link going to look like? It's going to take me into my Sightline system, showing me the voucher. If I go back, maybe I want to change my view again and see everything. I'm also looking at every mistake that's happened, but I'll go here and look at this particular one. Produced another voucher, and we are attaching the original PDF. It's stored in SharePoint, and okay, it's supposed to come up. Well, I guess Microsoft was sleeping, but there's the original PDF, obviously edited to get rid of other information, but it's for our bike part, so that's stored within there as well. Okay, so when I do get an exception coming in, one of the cases here, I have something in drafts, and I'm going to just send these in right now. I have 2 POs that I'm going to send in, and normally you would have an email address with your company domain name, and your company domain name would forward it to here. I'm going to send in a PO here and here, and let's just wait a little bit and we'll see what happens. But when we go back to our AP vouchers coming in, we're going to look at what the OCR engine would do and how we'd look at it. So we'll see some things show up here. Right now, I just have these from Fox Manufacturing. We can also go with other views, of course. I just showed you exceptions. We also have a history view. History shows you any edits that you had done to these PDF documents, and we're going to go in there a little bit later and show you that. But for this particular PO, I had edited it, and the original is void. So I'll just go back to my AP invoices, and we'll come back here in just a little bit. Other areas which I forgot to show you is we were looking at all these EDI orders coming in, and I could also have my OCR orders here. So as you can see, I have different views. This is just my view of my Granger orders. This is just my view of OCR orders. And these all came in from OCR, and everything was, parsed, both the buyer part number and the CSI item, and the same kind of thing, clicking and looking at the items in Sightline. And from here, we could then also click and see the original PDFs. So really the same type of behavior that we get with EDI, we get with OCR orders, and I'll show you some other OCR orders that are kind of fun. At Sun, what we were doing is we were taking orders that were written on a tablet and sent in. So if I wanted to modify it, I could call and see, here's a pretty easy format. It picked up my email, it picked up my phone number, it came in, and then we automatically prepaid the invoice. We automatically send out an invoice to somebody before shipping to prepay. And we can even look at the prepayment. We sent that out, and this is dealing with what we'll show on the 18th, but we're asking the customer to pay for it now. It's a prepayment. And within this system here, you know, we have invoices that were prepaid off of OCR orders, and we have orders that also came right out of all these that say Dallas, came out of the Dallas site, the Dallas database. So same basic concept. Here are different orders in, and if I wanted to look at them in Sightline, there's just going to be like every other order I've clicked to. We're going to see a header in Sightline with the data that was extracted, and oh, we're not. I guess I deleted that one. Live demos, got to stop that. Okay, let's go back to here. So here are the two that just came in, and I'm going to mark this to process. And by the way, I am expecting an error, an exception, and we'll look at it. And then we'll see a little bit how this works. So as that's processing, I'll also go here and I probably should have marked them to process automatically. I think you, just as was done in the EDI side, we can have them come in set to automatically process. So I get to this and I can quickly see there's this statement that says no PO. And sure enough, there's no PO. And I look at this and I go, well, okay. And I can look that PO up in Sightline, okay, but I know there's let me get my view over here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what's the PO number? What's the real PO number supposed to be? Well, I know it's supposed to be that, okay. And I can look at that OCR document that came in, and I could see it's pretty good. I mean, and by the way, this is not a trained one. I put, you know, the bike database stuff in. I put, you know, I changed some words around, but it's got the critical information it needs. It's got the invoice number. It found the PO. It picked up the quantities and things we need to voucher. I can change any of these and override them. Now, when would I want to override them? I really want to override them when it's a typo or the OCR didn't get it. I don't want to use this to change the quantity that they're really invoicing us. The actual PDF will always be attached, but we can extract different information by overriding it. So I'll say, go ahead and approve. And then when I get back to here, one of the things we'll see shortly is we'll see these all go get voided, and we'll see new ones show up. And so just in doing that, should have waited for the time, but I'll go ahead and process those when they show up. So I'm going to come back here, but why don't we open it to questions for now, and I will just kind of wait for this processing to happen. Okay, these were voided. I got my new one already. Here it is. I'm going to say, I want you to voucher it. And hold on a second here. I want you to process it, and we'll come back here. And we'll watch this happen like all the other voucher POs in just a second. But this is why we have different views, so that you can say, hey, I don't want to see what's been voided. I don't want to see where the problems are. I just want to see, you know, the good stuff. Okay, let me take some questions, and we can, you know, come back and look at that in just a second.
Okay, so we did have a few questions come through, and just a reminder to everyone who's attending, you can type and submit your questions in the questions tab of the GoToWebinar toolbar. So we'll start with this one. Can these be attached to IDM? Was the first question that we got.
Yeah, so I think that means Infor Document Management.
Yeah.
On our roadmap, we will both be attaching to DocTrack and Infor IDM. Right now, we wanted to get these vouchering PDF orders attached to something, so we have them as attached to notes. And you
Yep.
can see right here, this was vouchered in the meantime. I'm going to just hit it real quickly again. So this one happened before your very eyes. We did not post it yet. Here it is. It's vouchered. It's been done through the Sightline Voucher Builder. So we're trusting that business logic. And we will be then later moving these to the IDM as well as DocTrack. We haven't done that yet. So go ahead, next question.
And there was another question about DocTrack, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well.
Okay.
So the next question is, what do the percentages mean on the metadata on the incoming OCR doc?
Oh, wow, cool.
Got a good
So
technical one there.
we get the percentages are. I'm just trying to think of the best way to show this if it's here, because once something's written, I think the percentages go away. What the percentages are is it's a guess by the OCR engine. So this is technical. I'll be real quick and show you. So I'm going to just go back into NanoNets here. So we're picking up JSON, and the OCR engine gives a score. And the OCR engine is certain that Diamond Enterprises is the name of the seller. But when you get down here someplace, actually it's really cocky today. It's very certain of everything. But when you get down to some things that come in, you'll see these different scores. And the score here, it's 72% sure that's $4,600. Well, the nice thing about all this is we can compare. We've got what it is in Sightline. If it doesn't match, if the price is off, if somebody actually had a price of this, it's not going to match. We're going to catch it. But anyway, that's a long answer. So that's what the score is. The score is how sure is the AI, and we can build using our tools in Decision 365. We can build things that say, hey, the score's got to be this. You know, the most important thing on this guy is the PO number, because it's the PO that matches us up. You know, so that's where everything's important. And then of course the invoice number. Okay, answered too long. Go ahead, Emily. Sorry.
No problem. The next question is, how does it work with non-PO purchases that need approvals yet?
So today it will work with non-PO purchases. That's the same as ignoring the lines. So it doesn't match to PO. Before we really roll this up big time for non-PO purchases, we want to have another level of approval. And there's a couple ways we can handle that. One is just like you saw different inboxes here, we would have a supervisor approval for these, so 2 levels of approval. The other way is for our other high volume customers. You know what, and I didn't even hit on that. I'm gonna roll back around again, but for high volume customers, there's workflow engine actually in the OCR NanoNets, so you can do approval in that. Okay, this is a really important point that I forgot to mention. Almost all of those OCR providers have really an economical run where, you know, they're looking for more or less 10,000 pages a month. 10,000 PDF pages is a lot for our customers. You know, we can get in, and what we have is we have a program where, just like you see, you just would come in through our application to the actual OCR and edit it directly. So by doing that, we can sell this at a lot lower cost. So I just thought I'd mention that. I forgot to mention that earlier, but we can do it at, it's economical for customers to get like 1,000 PDFs a month. Okay, go ahead. Next, any more?
We have 2 more questions, and just a reminder in case you didn't hear, you can submit questions in the questions tab of your GoToWebinar toolbar. So if you have any questions that haven't been answered, you can keep them coming. We have a little bit of time still. The next question is, does this work with PO landed cost vouchers? Generate, and then in parentheses it says generate landed costs.
I don't know.
Okay,
So
we can follow up with you.
I have to follow up.
Yeah, I think we'll have to follow up.
I can tell you, to this point, we're doing standard POs and receipts and things like that. But I will also mention there's a number of other NanoNets types that we plan to expand. One of the ones we plan to expand to is acknowledgements. If there are shipping documentations and things like that, it's a good engine. You just need to tell it where to get its data from.
Okay. This is our last question, unless we get one more. Is DocTrack necessary? We want to retire that program and use Laserfish, if I'm saying that right, instead. Would this work?
Yeah, this is working without DocTrack. So we are storing all those PDFs in SharePoint that is dedicated to the customer. So when you become a Decision 365 customer, we get your own Office 365 domain that you use. It's our domain. We get it for you that you run on the system. And then with that, we store your PDFs that are incoming in that. And that's where it is. So, could that be moved to another product? Certainly. But those links are not using DocTrack or IDM. They're all on a Microsoft Office 365 area. I will also mention when we're dealing with the invoices going out, when we talk next month on the invoicing, we also say outbound invoicing. So you have an ability to see all your inbound and outbound PDFs. That specific product I'm not familiar with. So again, I would encourage all DRI customers to contact their CST, Lori, JT, those folks, or go to Matt, who's their manager, and we can answer specific questions.
Excellent. Well, that is all of our questions, David. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, I'll probably remember something after we sign off. We'd love to have your business. I guess I would add, we're trying to do it very tightly integrated to Sightline. I think we have the best active two-way integration to Sightline at the lowest cost. We're coming in, our price point is typically half of what it would be with the others. So if you get PDFs in any volume at all, talk to us. If you collect payment, come to next month's webinar, because we'll go over how people can pay and show you how really we can handle so much end-to-end automated, unless there's an issue where you need to bring a person in, to deal with an issue. Okay, I'll just.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I'm done. Yep.
So I'll go ahead and sign off for us then. As David mentioned here, you can contact your client success team manager or the director of client success, Matt Kaminsky, whose email is listed there if you have any questions. They will also be copied on the follow-up email that goes out with a recording of the webinar. You can expect to receive the recording within a day or two, if not this afternoon. But again, like David said, we do have as a reminder, we do have one more session scheduled on July 18th for zonal pay, which is also run on the Decision 365 platform. So you can learn more about that session and register at decision.com/events. And with that, I'll say thank you to David for your time today presenting this to everyone. It was really great stuff. Thank you to everyone that took the time out to attend. Have a great afternoon.
Great. Thank you, folks.